Alright guys, welcome back. This is video number 2 in this series of the Akai MPC Studio tutorials that I'm doing. So in the last video we discussed the basics in regards to projects, programs, sequences, and tracks. So if you haven't seen that video, definitely go back and check that one out. In this video, I'm going to go over the knobs, pads, and buttons that you see on the front of the unit. So again, watch the previous video if you missed it, and be sure to, subscribe and turn on your notification bell if you want to follow this series as I drop these videos. All right, so we already discussed the LCD window, and now we're going to talk about the knobs. So in the last video, I talked about the Q links and the scroll knob. Below this, we have the Q link trigger button. And what that does is for certain, I guess it would be certain functions, having this button enabled would allow you to, when you hit this, it actually would give you like maximum velocity or 100% or the highest value just by touching or adjusting the Q link. Below that we have the erase button. So when you make a beat, let's say you've added a bunch of hi-hats, you're putting them in and you mess up, you would just hold down erase and that pad, and that will erase that note you put in or the series of notes. Note repeat is just, it is what it is. It's note repeat. You hold it down while holding down the pad you want to repeat, and based off the value you see right here, it will repeat the note in that time division. So we have a quarter note, an eighth note, 16th, 32nd, and then if you click here, you get triplets out of all of these numbers. So one thing to know about note repeat is that if you click it twice, it will hold it down, so you no longer have to hold it down. So the cool thing about that is you can get crazy with hi-hats if you want. So you would hold down while it's repeating the note, and then you can just kind of go through and create different variation with your hi-hat. So that's pretty cool. And just click note repeat again to turn off the latch. Now with that being said, you see under note repeat it says latch, and anything that's in this orange red writing is a shift function. So you see the shift button here, so you hold shift and you press that, and now you see that we have the latch has been enabled. And then to turn it off again, you would just click that. And okay, so moving over from that, we have our 16 pads, what Akai is known for, the MPCs are known for, the 16 pads. And if you look at the pads, each pad has a number, as well as there are some numbers here in green, as well as cancel and plus and minus. That corresponds to the numeric button over here. So when you're entering a specific value, for example, like a number, you can just click numeric and then press, like we have 789, so you press numeric, and if the value you want is 789, you'd press that 789. And so these double up as like a keypad, like on an older telephone or something. Okay, moving on. Over here we have our F buttons, and these basically just correspond to the tabs that are in the window above. Moving over, we have our pad bank buttons. So basically, when you assign something to the pads, you can have different pad banks. So you're going to start in pad bank A, and then you can, when you fill those up, you can move on to pad bank B, C, D, and then again, because we have E, F, G, H, and red, we would hold shift to access those. So right now we're in pad bank E, and then we click it again, we're back in A. To the right, we have pad assign, pad copy, and when you click pad assign, that basically is going to let you assign colors to the pads. And then when you click pad copy, it does just that. You can copy one pad to another. Below that, we have full level and half level. So that just basically means full velocity or half velocity. And with it off, then you have, you know, the full range. So if you tap a pad quietly, it'll be quiet. And if you hit it hard, it'll be full level. Over here we have 16 level. And what that does is that allows you to take one sound and spread it across the pads. And then you have like a few options you can do. You can either tune, you know, play the sample at different pitches. You can play it at different volumes, with the quieter volumes being on the bottom, and then it gets louder. So that's what 16 level is. Step sequence is basically where the pads turn into, you know, basically a sequencer where you can actually sequence notes just by clicking the pad. So for example, we press play, we don't see anything going on here, but when we click step sequence, you can actually see that we're now moving along in the timeline. And by doing this, we're actually entering notes into our sequence and removing notes. Okay, next sequence is just that. It moves us over to the next sequence. And then this is track mute. So we click that and then we can just mute our tracks based off of, it shows you on the window what tracks, you know, track 1 being right here are there, and you would just click that and that would mute the track. And the same thing for pad mute. So shift and then pad mute. Moving below that, we have our mode buttons, which we have program edit, as well as our cue link. So program, again, is basically like our drums. So in that edit menu, you can see things change. So over here we have our, you know, our master, which is basically our, you know, over our whole program. And then we move through our samples. And anytime you see those small little boxes, like you see below where it says samples, that tells you that you can keep pushing this and you get more parameters you can affect than just the you know, what you see in that one tab. So moving over, we have, you know, these different parameters we can affect, so on and so forth. So again, if we hold down shift and do that, now it's showing us where our cue links, you know, are affecting. And if you look at your screen in the MPC software, you can see exactly what, you know, you're affecting on the screen. Okay, moving over, we have program mix. This is our volumes. This is like our mixer basically for our program, and then shifting takes us to the track mixer, so we can now adjust our, you know, tracks. We move over, we have sequence edit, and this is going to be your friend within this unit because this helps you copy events, copy your bars, you know, transpose the track, erase things. You know, this is going to be, you know, the big one right here. And then moving on, we have our effects. So this basically is the shortcut to show what effects we have. Since we don't have anything assigned, there's nothing there, it's blank right now. Over here we have sample edit. Since there's no sample selected, you don't see anything, but this is where you would edit the parameters of your sample. If you hold shift, you go to sample record, and if we had our mic connected, you would see these meters jumping up and down because it's getting ready to record a source. And then over here is our song button. There's no sequence, so there's no song. This is where you would take your sequences and build a song. And then holding shift brings us other, which is just menu stuff like lights and MIDI channel stuff. Okay, and then moving down, data select. This stuff corresponds to the browser. So when you want to go, when you want to go and look for files like samples or sounds to load, you would click browser, find your folder with your samples, and then you can organize like what you're seeing based off of what you see here. So there's no filter, so it shows you all your files. Sample button shows you just what, only samples. Program shows you only programs. Sequences shows you only sequences, and projects shows you projects. Below that you see folder 1, folder 2, all the way to folder 5. That is basically your quick folders, so you can assign those in the software. So these are folders that you find yourself going to a lot. after our folders, we have the main button. This is your home button. This button is always going to bring you back to this screen right here. So no matter where you get lost, where you end up at, if you click main, it's going to bring you back to the main window. Okay, when you click shift and track, it just changes the focus on your actual computer monitor. So it really doesn't do much on the MPC Studio. Holding down shift also gives you two options here, timing correct and the click, which is the metronome. So when holding shift, you can access these menus here. So timing correct is where you're going to adjust your swing, the time division. So right here we have 1/16, 1/8, you can adjust it. And then you can apply it to all the events, all the tracks, or just particular things. And then then the click is just the metronome, the tapping you hear when you're recording. So you can adjust it over here. Over here we have the data wheel that just helps us navigate around. The data up and down, or the plus and minus, which allows you to go through things. And then the cursor, which you're going to probably use the most on the unit. We have the tap tempo, which if you press it, depending on how many times you have it set, I think mine is set to 3. You just hit it 3 times and then it will give you the tempo. It's really good for identifying the tempo of certain samples and stuff. And then over here we have our window button. Now when this is illuminated, that means that whatever you have selected has another window or something else that you can see. See, right now I moved it to the sequence and it turned on. That means if I click it, it's going to give me an option for that. So down here we have undo and redo. So these are huge because when you're making a beat, you're going to screw up. So you're going to need to undo, and sometimes we go too far, so we can redo. I can't remember how many times you're able to do it, but it's quite a few. I was able to go back and remove tons of stuff on a beat one time, and it was funny because it wouldn't stop going. And it's a really cool feature. Below that, we just have our transport controls as well as our locate bar, so we can actually move forward and back bars, forward and back steps with here. And then holding down the go to, it will take you and clicking start will take you to the beginning or take you to the end. And it also opens up a menu which shows you where your locators are at, which is pretty cool. And then down here we have our transport, play, start, play from the beginning, basically stop, overdub, and record. Now I use overdub all the time because it records over things, whereas record replaces things. So that's something to keep in mind. When you hit record, sometimes it can be a bad thing because it could erase notes, and then you'll go, hey, what happened? I lost something. Well, that's because you hit record and you didn't hit overdub. Alright guys, so that about covers the rest of the unit. I didn't really want to explain what's going on the back. It's very simple. You got the USB, MIDI in and out, power. There's no interface on here, so there's not too much going on back there. But that pretty much covers the unit. In the next video, I'm gonna show you guys how to make a beat and kind of go over navigating, the Akai software using just the controller. So again, thank you for watching, and if you found this video helpful, you know what's up. Click the like button and drop a comment. Alright guys, so I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Peace.